Hello everyone. Today we're going to look at correlation, which for Math 114 is your last assignment of the course. When we look at correlation, we are looking at the idea that we have two things that we're looking at comparison. For example, here would be something we might want to look at correlation. It would be hours of study, comparing it to how well you do on a test. And so when we look at a correlation of something like that, usually the more hours you study, the better you do on the test. And so we would look at how that ranks out. We would take data, we would plot the data, and then we would look at what that data tells us. So when we look at correlation, that's what we're looking at. And there's several things we're looking at when we look at correlation. So some of the aspects you're looking for is, first of all, is it linear? In other words, is it a line or something kind of like a line? So, for example, here would be something that would be linear. Your data's kind of grouped in the middle. I bet you can't quite see that. Let me make my dots bigger. Okay, so now you can see those dots. And so if we were to draw a line through that, you can see we have just about the same number of points above and below that line. So that would be linear. Okay? Now, what else could it be? Maybe my dots are going to group in a kind of curvy way. Okay, you can see that those dots are forming a curve. This is not linear. Okay, and we're only going to be looking for linear correlation. Another example might be something like this. Make my dots big so you can see them. As you see, that's just all grouped in, it's all scattered all over the place. So this is not only not linear, there's nothing at all of any kind of correlation. This would be a correlation, but it's not linear correlation, whereas this one is no correlation. So there's a little bit difference between the two. This one is a non-linear correlation, and this has no correlation at all. Okay, so that's one of the differences. So is it linear is the first thing you're going to ask yourself. The next question is it positive or negative? Okay. The first one we did here, this would be a positive linear correlation. Okay? Because my line, as you move from left to right, is going uphill. So this is a positive line. If we had a negative linear correlation, it would look something like this. See, your line is going downhill, and if you'll draw your line, it will help you to get that correlation figured out. You see, from the left to the right, it's going downhill, so this would be a negative linear correlation. Okay? So positive or negative, linear or non-linear or no correlation. And the last one is it strong or weak? Okay? If we look at this one up here, this one would be considered a strong positive correlation. And the reason it is a strong positive correlation is because your grouping is fairly close to the line. This one wouldn't be as strong. And the reason, although this is a negative correlation, it would be called a weak negative correlation. And it's because your data points are further from the line. So that's how you're going to tell what it is. And in this assignment, there's 8 problems that you are going to decide. Is it a strong positive linear correlation? Is it a weak positive linear correlation? Or is it not a linear correlation? Or is it no correlation? Or is it a weak negative correlation? Or is it a strong negative correlation? So remember, whether it is strong or weak is dependent upon how close the data values are to the line of correlation. So when you look at the book and you choose what it is, you can help yourself by drawing first the linear correlation line, by looking and doing kind of like what's called a line of best fit. In other words, kind of draw your straight line so you have about the same number of points above it and below it, or pretty close, okay? I hope you don't have questions, but that's all this last assignment is. It's a short assignment with 8 problems, and all you're looking at in this assignment is correlation. Have fun. Good luck.